What do you get when you combine Neo, Dark Souls, and Kung Fu? You get a very colorful pastel third-person fighting game called Absolver. I'm here today to tell you if you should buy it, all in about 7 minutes. Keep in mind this is not a review, just my recommendations on what I played so far, about 6 hours. Absolver is a very strange game to try to explain. You start off in this very beautiful menu screen. Graphical settings have been optimized for you automatically, and then you create your character. There's not many options here, but it's sufficient, and then you go to choose your fighting style, which there are 3. Each style has a different active ability, such as a parry, extra defense, or a better dodge. A short cutscene follows and shows your character being chosen by some hooded figure. You get a mask, and the game begins. Some people have said that this intro is akin to the very ambiguous intro of Dark Souls, but it's actually 10 times more cryptic due to the lack of any dialogue. But even so, you're dropped off in a small tutorial area thereafter to try to learn the mechanics of the game, locking on, dodging, blocking, fighting, and of course how to parry. After fighting the gatekeeper and watching this very small transition cutscene, you arrive at the altar. It's here that you start to understand what Absolver is all about. It's a melee-based kung fu fighting game with some mild exploration sprinkled in. The world is small, carved into the rock of the altar, but like many things in Absolver, it's not really clear how big the world is, or how small it is, or even where you are. What are these red dots, or what are these yellow ones? It's all very mysterious, which is why I refer to Absolver as the Kung Fu Souls. It turns out that the world is actually very small, and you can traverse the entire game end to end in about 30 minutes, provided all the areas have been unlocked. But just like Dark Souls, it's very slow going most of the time, enemies are tough, and pretty much everything is a maze. There is no direct path, no linearity, nor arrow pushing you forward. It's up to you to figure everything out. Are you one of those people that likes to do that? The objective of the game is simple, but the overall game experience is pretty unique. The goal of the game is to ascend from Padawan to Absolver by defeating 10 bosses. The first 9 bosses are available to you in any order, and only after they have been slain can you open a huge stone gate blocking the final boss in the Imperial Tower. Aside from a few other things, that's pretty much the entire blueprint for the game. In order to get to the Imperial Tower, you need to fight, level up and acquire new skills, and build various decks to customize your kung fu arsenal. These decks are the main components of the game. Basically, they are combo strings that you self-designate for each of the attack stances available to you. While in combat, you'll see an input frame that may resemble that of For Honor, however the mechanics are quite different. Holding the left trigger and pushing a direction stick on the analog will switch you to said stance, which is mapped to the aforementioned deck system. Switching between different stances in combat is pretty much the bread and butter of the game, to take advantage of multiple fighting strings. Combine that with a very satisfying yet risky parry mechanic, a quick dodge, weapons, stamina management, and a few special moves like a shockwave, and Absolver is actually really fun and complex. That is, when you finally get used to it all. New players will probably just mash the buttons because it's a complicated and hectic system, especially because Absolver often pits you against multiple enemies. This is where I had the least fun with Absolver. The refined combat system is quite elegant, and best when you're duking it out one-on-one. In Absolver, they've compensated for the additional enemies by allowing you to take more hits. You can often take 10 or even 20 hits before you go down, which is far removed from the sometimes crippling insta-death scenarios you can find yourself in a game like Dark Souls. But the boss fights are where Absolver is best, because they do hit harder and they don't mess around. Here you have to really take your time and think about what you're doing, which is where Absolver's sophisticated combat system really shines. So under the right fighting environments, including the game's duel mode, Absolver is a ton of fun. As if I wasn't making enough Dark Souls comparisons, another similarity of Absolver and Dark Souls is the seamless multiplayer. As you traverse the world, people come and go. You can group with them, fight them, or set up duels in small arena settings. I just love this aspect because even when grouped, friendly fire is always on, so you've got to work together. You do this by holding the left trigger button and inviting via the green button here. However, you can play Absolver offline if you wish. Now in terms of performance, Absolver is beautiful and runs at 60 frames per second without fail. It's got this kind of pastel, almost cel-shady design that is very minimal yet beautiful. Even though the game world is small, it's got some decent diversity from temples to forests to ruins and even a swamp. It's nothing technically impressive, it's more about the aesthetics here. You can see for yourself, Absolver just looks gorgeous. So after about 6 hours of playing, I can confidently say that Absolver is unique, the combat is fun, but it does have some problems. There's going to be a huge learning curve for players because it's one of those where the hell do I go, what do I do games. The map is pretty bad and will confuse new players just as much as help them, and everything is a maze. Finding the various shortcuts that bind together areas will be crucial for your enjoyment, just as it was with Dark Souls. But if you're one of those people that likes that cryptic kind of challenge, Absolver is definitely for you. It's going to take some time to get proficient with the combat system, and you can level up to your heart's content, customize your character with the stat and card system, all the while having a game that doesn't hold your hand. Sometimes that's actually a good thing. While I don't think Absolver is anything mind-blowing, I do think it's a successful spin-off of a game type that we don't get to experience very often. The tough as nails, where the hell do I go, but damn, this game is pretty cool kind of game. Absolver releases on August 29th on all platforms for about $30, although there is a discount if you buy it like right now. And I say go for it if you're a fan of these kind of games, it's pretty cool. Thanks for watching, guys. If you'd like to support this channel, go ahead and subscribe to Downward Thrust now, and consider checking out my Patreon to help me fight back against YouTube's demonetization rampage. Have a great day, guys, and we'll see you in our next video.